What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Twin Tuitions with AJ and Luke. We've got two very special guests here with us tonight. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are from Dust by Monday. I'm Alex. I play guitar and sing in the band.
And I'm Matt, and I play drums in Dust by Monday.
Oh, yeah. So, we're definitely going to get into schedule, genre, and like a lot of detailed stuff. But the first question that comes to mind for sure is where's the name come from? Because it's a unique name.
Yeah, we get that one a lot. So the name has changed actually over the years a few times. So way back in the beginning, we had settled on Chasing Autumn as our name, and
I like that too.
yeah, it was a cool name. It was it served us well for a while until we went to release our debut EP in fall of 2018, and this other band called Chasing Autumn from somewhere else in the country had just released their debut album a couple months before we were going to release ours. So it sucked. We bowed out, which was the honorable thing to do, and Nick, who is our bass player and the other singer in the band, had the idea of Dust by Monday for a while. And the phrase comes from the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Yeah, so basically Scott's, talking with one of the evil exes that he has to fight, and there's some exchanging of words among the characters and everything, and his friend advises him that he shouldn't go through with it because, the cleaning lady comes in on Monday and she dusts. He would be dust by Monday. So it was kind of a cool phrase from the movie, and
I do like
kind of
that
stuck
name
with it.
better than the first one.
That's good.
I like that name. They're both good, but I like the one you guys currently have a little better. So what genre would you guys put yourself in?
I would put us in, by nature, we're kind of a pop punk band, but I would say we also delve into more like kind of alternative sound, and kind of just that like teetering on like the Midwest kind of emo kind of stuff too. We have a little bit of that in there. I wouldn't say we go full into like some of those kind of things, but definitely like pop punk. Try to be high energy kind of stuff. So
when I listen to you guys, one of the bands that came to mind was NoFX.
Yeah, that's high praise, man. NoFX is awesome. Fat Mike and all those dudes. Hell yeah. NoFX. I mean, listening to NoFX, they do like the kind of the higher vocal with the faster drums and that kind of stuff, and just kind of like, singing about crazy shit. Definitely, that's cool.
Yeah, that. One of the songs, This Song Sucks. Was that it?
That was one of the songs.
This song.
That
sucks.
is a song, but that's like more of an acoustic song, I think.
Yeah. It's like the last song.
Yeah. That's the last song on the album. Yeah. Yep.
So you guys released. I saw. It looks like you guys had released some singles. You had released an EP.
Yep.
A couple EPs. And then 2024, you guys have released an album.
Yes.
How'd you guys record it? What was that like? What was it like to get all those songs together?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of those songs are way older than the album. They were not necessarily written for that album. They've just kind of been circulating as rough demos in the band since Nick and I got together back in like 2015, 2016, and some of those songs were songs that he had from before that time. So they're really old, but we wanted to breathe some fresh life into them, and they ended up making the cut for the album, which was super cool. The process is very DIY, I would say. We don't work with any studios currently or anything like that. It's basically my basement and a MacBook that runs Logic Pro. And so basically, we wanted it to be very, somewhat raw kind of sound to it, not overproduced or anything. We started off the process by making demos, just live recordings of us in the basement, because we wanted it to be more of a live band kind of feel to it. And then we would actually, we have an electronic drum kit, so we usually will run that through MIDI into the interface, and that's how we get like the basic drum track. And then we just come back and layer everything onto it. And then, yeah, I'll mix it down and, master it and everything, and that's kind of what it is.
So you're the guy who mixes and masters all the.
Yep. With the rest of the guys' input, I'll get, something put together as a first draft, and then we all kind of got together towards the end, and then they gave me a million notes, and then I would go back to the drawing board and, add some echo here, or take this guitar part down here, or, we need to scrap this song and do something different, whatever it happened to be. So it was really collaborative all the way through from everyone, which was awesome.
Just out of personal curiosity, where did you learn to do that? Did you just learn to do it through writing songs and experimentation and just
trial and error? Yeah. I'm very as my own personality is just like it's probably hindered me in a lot of ways, but like things I have to kind of do on my own terms if I'm really interested in it, and like music I'm really interested in. So like our first, EP, I think, I had this pirated version of Logic Pro from like 2014 on my laptop, and I just started screwing around with it. I came from GarageBand before that, so I was kind of familiar with the native like Apple, music production plugins.
Yeah, like
so
it's just taken a massive step up from.
Yeah. And so it's pretty much self-taught, and some trial and a lot of error, I would say. But I think, it helps me to sort of know the ins and outs of what I've discovered, and helps me in my production. So
It's funny how people will approach the same problem from different angles. Like, for me, to even feel comfortable, like touching, like starting to do mixing, I have to like have read some, like at least some chapters in the book, and
right.
like a book or something like that, to where I'm like, okay, to where at least I'm like, I feel like I got a base level of knowledge here to where I can even begin to approach this.
Yeah.
But some people work best just diving right in, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it I think it is like a very personalized thing. I tried to get into DAW work, and I just could not. It just didn't click for me. Like, and it's similar to like a lot of things that so the way that I got when I first started doing music, it was like by a really high percentage studio work over live stuff, especially with rap.
Yep.
And so I got over like the fear of the mic and stuff like that pretty early, but when it comes to music theory, the working of the DAW, like stuff like that, it's always just been like right over my head, like I feel comfortable like in the studio. That's my favorite place to be. Like I love being in there, but what I'm able to do is vocals, lyrics, and just like, what if we did like a da-da-da here, like very basic idea stuff, but I'm not in there like, let's turn down the saturation. And I'm not that knowledgeable on it.
Well, that's the cool thing about being in a band is like everyone can bring their own strengths to the
100%.
table, and, not everyone's going to have the production knowledge, and not everyone's going to be able to write lyrics, so it's everyone brings something to the table. And being self-taught, or whether you're reading chapters in the book before you go in, like doing something like that probably could have helped me out a lot, but it wouldn't be like just not how I am. But, sometimes it seems like it would be a lot nicer to just go in the studio, let someone else handle all of that, and focus on the music.
To a degree, that is exactly how I feel with the other stuff. But
Right.
But lyrics are where everything started for me, and I've had producers, help me with lyrics here and there to make things catchier, but I could not hand over the writing of the track. I feel totally comfortable being like, yeah, you want to completely rework the instrumental or whatever we're doing, then, you know, and obviously that's different now with the band. I'm more
Sure.
talking about when I would go in by myself. But it was like the lyrics, and I would always write. I can't write without an instrumental. I do not pre-write lyrics. I can't do it. And I think like when I've tried, the song comes across as like ingenuine. Because so you said you do guitar and vocals, right? Do you write the lyrics?
No, I'm the same as you. When I write lyrics, I tend to have an idea of like the instrumental, because you got to have for me anyway, and likely for you, especially from a rap background, you got to know the bars, you got to know the tempo, and you got to know like
The time
what's the
signature,
cadence.
yeah.
Exactly. You got to know all of those things
Because every
before you
different
go
time
in.
signature is a different cadence. Gives you more space to
Yeah.
slow it down or take an odd melody, or if it's really
Yeah.
quick, which metal can be, you got to just you got to come in on the note, which is something that I'm still working on to this day. Just because with heavy, quick, up-tempo shit, you got to come right in on that note. It's not the sad boy stuff where you're fading in and out on everything. And I love Lil Peep. I'm not dissing sad boy stuff. It's just very different.
Sure. Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, it's, that's the other thing, like when we get together to write, I think we like to feel out the different, what type of song is this? What are we going for? What are we trying to say? And that really helps us figure out, how we want the vocals to be. What's the production style going to be? Is it going to be, really huge, or is it going to be sort of buried in the mix and you let the instruments do some of the talking? So, yeah.
So, when you go to write songs, do you guys have a typical process that you'll are you guys like bringing riffs to the table, or somebody bringing riffs to the table? Do you all get together in the basement and hash it out? Do you write some songs trading ideas back and forth over a DAW? What's your typical process?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Nick had a bunch of songs and I wrote a bunch of songs way back in the day, and we, sometimes it was just Nick, like he had this song that he had written. He plays bass now, but he kind of came in with an acoustic guitar, when we first started working together, and like, before we started rolling, you were talking about This Song Sucks. That was one where he just like sang and played that on guitar. But even for some of the, the heavier songs, he would just sing and play it on guitar. And then I would just come back in, like, tempo match it to whatever was closest and start programming some MIDI drums in there. And then I'd come in with a guitar part. And that's how a lot of the really old demos came together. And then I would have him put a clean vocal track over it. And then we could get a sense of, like, this is what the song could be. And then we kind of sat on them for 8 years. And then we came back in 2024 to make the album. And Matt had obviously joined the band since then, and our other guitar player, Les, had joined the band, and so we were all able to kind of start from a pretty advanced stage with the song and sort of say, like, all right, Matt wants to put these drums here, Les wants to do a solo over this part. How can we work that in? And then we would start making new demos, and then it was really cool, honestly, to see a lot of those songs evolve into something oftentimes completely different than the original demo. And we're kind of doing that now. We're back in the studio and trying to do some writing and looking at those old demos.
So I'm curious, what contributed to the decision to finally, you said you've been kind of sitting on the songs for 8 years. What was it that was like, you guys were like, okay, let's release an album?
Yeah, we had planned to release an EP, and then we looked back at all the songs and we said, we have way more than enough songs to to do an album, so why don't we just do an album? And then we just started listening to the songs, and maybe Matt, you can talk about, like, because you have an interesting perspective, because you came in after all of these old demos had been pretty much finalized, so you basically were listening in afresh, and sort of what was going through your mind?
Yeah. So I came in at Dust by Monday, I think in like 2018. Does that sound right? And so they, like he's saying, they had a bunch of songs that they had been workshopping and had been fleshing out, especially with demos. and we had been playing some shows and kind of getting used to playing. But obviously that was 2018. We were playing around, kind of messing around with some songs, and then the pandemic happened, and so we kind of took a break like the rest of the world did. Kind of stayed away from each other, and then like after the pandemic, that's when I think we kind of started looking at those songs in a different light, and especially I guess for me, getting access to the Dropbox and like listening to them again after maybe like not even listening to them for like a year just because of the pandemic was really cool. And it was interesting too because like Alex had put the drums on those tracks, so like me playing drums, listening to that, it was kind of like, okay, like I like what he did here, I'm gonna like let's run through it, and I'll try to play it as close to like the track that is already on there, and then let's run through it where I'm kind of doing my own thing. And I think in that process, we kind of were able to cut out the parts that we liked, leave some stuff on the cutting room floor, and then make the song with like my drums on it and not like the drums that Alex had put. So
kind of piece by piece, like
putting
it together.
Yeah, and there are some songs that if you listen to like the original demo and then listen to the drums that are on the album, they're not that different. Some fills are different, like maybe the tempo is a little bit faster or slower, but and then there are some other songs, or another song that like when we were in the studio, together, all of a sudden it was like we had an idea, and it just like exploded into like another song. And a great song example of that is a song called like "Don't Come Home," that's on that album. It's just, we were just talking about this when we were before. It was that song is kind of is a great example of kind of everyone's talents in the band. It's like it's an original song. There was a tiny little kernel of an idea. From I think that you guys had from before, but all of a sudden it just kind of took a life of its own. So we do have songs on there that are like that, but most of them, I would say 90% of the rest of them, are like ones that had been made, prior to me even meeting these guys. So
I think so two things. One, I feel like, at least for me, it would be hard to, because part of what you're talking about, it seems like, is upgrading tracks. Like, you've got the idea, you're now upgrading it to a finished product. I so directly associate that with going to the studio that I almost think it would be hard to come up with ideas just in the basement. I know we could, but it's just not how it, like, they're like directly together. It's like, oh, we're going to the studio, we're about to upgrade these tracks, make everything sound better. It's just, I feel like it would be hard, like, going from practicing like in the basement to like finished product editing on a track, just because there's such different mindsets, at least for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for us though, we're just used to like that's how we've been doing it. So, we kind of in our group text we're like, hey, we're gonna practice and work on these songs today. Like everyone listen to them and kind of remember how to play them, whatever. And then when it's time to actually record, we'll come back at a different time and understand like, hey, we're gonna record today. So even though it is the same basement, it's kind of like Alex has everything set up.
Different mindset.
Yeah, has everything like ready to rip. Like everything's mic'd up and everything's ready to go. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like going to a studio would be amazing and doing it like that and doing like live drums as opposed to like electronic. But, we're able to, like, if you listen to that album, it sounds really good. Like the vocals are super clean and the production's just like really good. So
for sure, I wasn't saying anything about the.
Oh, right.
I was just talking about creatively.
Absolutely, yeah. And and to your point, like it would be cool to be able to go to a space that's completely removed from where we've been playing for the last 8 years and like see if that creatively sparks something.
Yeah.
And so, dude, totally.
Because there are things you would do in the studio that you would never do in the basement.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience. The other thing I wanted to bring up, you guys were talking about how, and I think this is the case for most people, with the pandemic, it created like a timeout.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
That's when we met, isn't it, AJ? Like, we met during the pandemic, I think. And so, like, for us, at least I can't say for AJ, but for me, like, us meeting during the pandemic and starting what became Pale Twin, because it wasn't that yet, it filled so much of the time that was just dead air for me And
Yeah.
because like he lived close to me, we were able to, I was comfortable with him coming over, he was comfortable meeting up, and then like just moving things forward. For me, it was like an escape from the pandemic a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely didn't view it that way. We definitely kind of were like all doing our own things and with our own families and stuff like that. And I know like Nick's girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, was pretty sick.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. So like she, we kind of had to be careful with the sick stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, looking back, I wish we had taken that time to really like hunker down and get creative and do stuff. But, life's a weird thing. It's really easy to look back at 2020 kind of stuff, and all you can really do is try to learn from it.
Speak for yourself, man. It's not easy for me to look back a week. Like I can. 2020 feels like a different lifetime. to me,
Yeah.
but,
Absolutely.
But all right. So this is a question I asked during the Green Fuzz. Shout out Green Fuzz, by the way.
Yeah,
But-
dude. Great. I was saying we were obviously talking about this, but yeah, I listened to the Green Fuzz episode.
Yeah, so-
I really like their stuff.
This is a question I asked them as well. It's
Yeah.
like, do you guys, and it doesn't have to be an agreed upon thing, or it can be, because I think it's different for every band, but do you have like a color concept? And if you do, why is it that? It's like, so for example, with us, Pale Twin, black, white, and gray, right? Like that's our color and we do stuff that's not, we do different colors, but like the logos and stuff like that, it's consistent.
Yeah.
With that black, white, and gray.
Yeah.
And the reason is because that felt like the name
Yeah.
for us. So like, do you guys have something like that?
I would say our logos are based in like black and white. Just that kind of basic color scheme. Also, I would say too, like we're very heavy on our logos and kind of theme being more like UFO kind of thing. Like our bass drum has a UFO on it. It has like in the beam of the UFO it says Dust by Monday.
That's cool.
And so we like our music, necessarily lyrics and stuff don't necessarily deal with any of that kind of cryptid stuff and UFOs, but that is kind of the style that we are going for and just kind of doing things like that. So but also like our merch, we have just basic tones like black, white, green,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
dark green
black and
stuff.
white is super common and heavier,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
But even with those bands that their logo is black and white, if you go to their pages, sometimes you'll see like a pretty distinct theme, kind of like what you're talking about. Like sometimes it's colors, sometimes it's the like the UFO thing.
Right.
I like that. To me, it's like a like an artistic. So like we started with like a spatial theme when we first started things, and that was like a heavy part of our logos and stuff like that. And as time went on, like kind of like what you're talking about, it's like, well, that's not really what we're singing about or writing about or anything like that. And so we've kept the black and white and the kind of cosmic like color, but we backed off of the space thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we focus more on like the moon as a logo thing. So sometimes that stuff, it's not written in stone, Sometimes it changes with the band.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say it's less of a color scheme than more of like concepts. Like Matt said, we have the UFO thing, like we have a well, it's not really hidden, but there's like a motion blurred UFO thing on our debut album cover. But another thing, it's kind of a style that I enjoy is sort of like panoramic sort of stuff with people in silhouette, for example, and I think that's sort of reflected on the cover of our EP, which is called The Art of Wondering Why, and it's got the four of us in.
I like that name.
Yeah, it's us in silhouette, and it's like we're looking off on this ocean. There's like this nuclear blast, but the nuclear blast is in the shape of a heart, like just this huge event, and we're just like overshadowed by it almost. And then the album is the cover is of this crazy tornado that ripped through Cincinnati in 1974. It's like a photo from 1974 of these like three dudes just standing on top of this rooftop with this huge tornado like in the back, and they're like in silhouette from it. And our guy who helps us with graphics, shout out Graham, shout out Kaiju. He kind of processed that a little bit into the album cover and put a fourth guy on there to represent the four of us, and put the motion blur UFO in there. So those are kind of the aesthetics, at least from, because I do some graphics. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy.
Same. I don't do nearly as much as Zoe does, but like I mess around with editing and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
not like if it's like going to be our cover or our logo, I'm not the one designing that. I have horrible handwriting.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah, so I can't draw at all. This is random, but the way you're talking about with the tornado made me think of it. I can't remember the name for this, but I saw that it's just a fun podcast fact thing. So there's a name for like when a tornado gets big enough, it'll start to like stem out and do this kind of thing as it moves forward, and they call that like either like the walk of death or something like that. It's like when it gets to that, it's about to
Okay.
become like a category whatever.
Sure.
Like tornado, and I thought, and then there were videos of it. It was creepy. Like it really does look like a person
It's like,
like
striding across the landscape.
It's freaky. Like yeah, but
I've never seen that.
that
But
would be
sounds.
listeners comment the name of what that phenomenon is, because I think it's like the walk of death or like this, it's something sinister.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I see on like Instagram reels like storm chasers that the scariest shit with those big tornadoes and storms is like when it's pitch black and then the lightning goes and you just see this fucking like mile wide tornado like over these cornfields, like a fucking like Pacific Rim when the kaiju come up and you see these huge like monsters. Dude, it's terrifying. Like absolutely absurd. So I mean, any type of shit like that, like storms and stuff, is wild. So crazy.
Ohio's can have some bad ones.
Oh yeah, man. Shit
I've-
rips through here all the time.
I've had to go into the basement a couple
Yeah.
times in my life. Not a lot, but a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mainly when I brought up, I think before we started the podcast, I grew up on a farm. And so mainly out there is because it was plains, like,
Right.
and it would get rolling out
Yeah,
there.
I'm
but,
sure.
Like,
I'm sure.
so it's funny, the style you were talking about reminds me a little bit of the shirt you're wearing. Was that was that an influence at all?
Yeah, so I'm wearing my Green Day Dookie shirt. And yeah, I think so. I mean, it's Green Day's one of my biggest influences. They've been my favorite band since I was 11 or 10 or something
hell
like
yeah.
that. And yeah, now that you mention it, that probably was because it's got that little explosion thing. And,
That's yeah.
all the critters and people and Ozzy Osbourne and everyone that's in the foreground is kind of overshadowed by it. So yeah, I think certainly is definitely an influence.
Pink Floyd was mine. Pink Floyd was my like idolized band. Just
Nice.
and I was like, again, different lifetime, but just their vibe, being just so spacey, drifting off, and then their artwork was so cool. They had that. One of my favorite albums from them is one that's not really known at all. It's called A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Okay.
And it's the one you've probably seen the cover though. It's like a beach with 100 beds on it. It's like
Okay. Yeah.
But that's my favorite Pink Floyd album. I know everybody like The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon, but
Of course.
but that was my biggest one. AJ, who's your biggest influence?
Who is Pink Floyd?
Oh my God.
Never heard of him.
Biggest influence. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell you one. I couldn't pinpoint it down to one. Although, with the shirt thing and the album cover, I've noticed there's certain things I'll suggest based on songs that I really like, and I'll think about it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I suggested that because of this song. So
Yeah, it's a really, you're driving somewhere, you're listening to something, or like someone's like, "Oh man, you ever heard this song?" and throw it on, and you're like, "Holy shit, that was like the missing puzzle piece I was looking for, like in the song that I had an idea or something." So or like I don't know, you hear like a jingle on TV or like someone's like TikTok reel has like a mashup of two different songs. You're like, "Oh shit, like why didn't we think of that? Like why didn't we think of something cool like that?" So No, man, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, especially for me listening to music, I listen to a different genre of music like every day. I'm listening to like house beats as much as I'm listening to like old school like Under Oath tracks and like, or listening to Tower of Power, which is like a funk band from like the '70s, like just different shit, and
No.
and that's cool because you're kind of like, okay, like I'm playing drums and I'm listening to these songs that, you know, need tracks, but like all these other different artists and people have so many cool ideas. Like, why wouldn't I listen to some different shit so that I can maybe be influenced by those people?
100%. Got a lot of respect for that. What's your? I assume that like like pop punk may not be like your favorite genre, right?
Yeah.
But outside of like the music you play, if it even is your favorite genre, what are some of your favorite genres? to
Oh,
listen
dude,
to?
yeah. I mean, I'm really into like house stuff, like house and trance stuff right now. But you know, what my favorite genres are probably like all kinds of '90s stuff, like anywhere from the Alice in Chains and Soundgarden to the Smashing Pumpkins. The Smashing Pumpkins might be are probably my favorite band, one of them anyway. Their drummer Jimmy Chamberlain is like, he's probably the most underrated drummer of the '90s, along with a few other dudes that I'm forgetting right now that play for like really weird bands that I can't remember. But I would say of like mainstream big bands that like you think of, like Billy Corgan is their lead dude, like Jimmy Chamberlain. If you go and listen to Siamese Dream and then Melancholy and even their weird EP shit that's in between that stuff, or Gish even, like the album before, like the drums are seriously like from another planet. Like, that dude is on another fucking level, and it's so insane to listen to that shit.
As a drummer, I mean, like, I've never really gotten into the Smashing Pumpkins much.
You fucking should,
But
dude.
dude, now I'm gonna go in and listen to some of those.
Dude,
songs.
let's go on a trip, and I'll fucking show you the way of Jimmy Chamberlain. That dude, he'll literally like revolutionize how you play. And it's kind of like, drummers are a funny breed, because like we could sit here and talk about different people playing drums and their styles and stuff, but like when you're a drummer and you're trying to listen to tracks, you listen in a very different way. And my reference point for this is that, one, I've been listening to music and playing drums since I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. But also I've recently started playing the bass, like learning bass guitar, and I totally had to flip to a different frequency in my brain and in my ears to like lock into that. Even though drums and bass go together, you're hearing a whole different sonic template, and locking in on different things when you're playing bass. And especially if you're listening to pop punk, or you're listening to funk, or you're listening to I don't know, pop music, like listening to like a Sabrina Carpenter song. There's this really cool Sabrina Carpenter song called Bedchem, and the bass is very, very, very simple in it, but the tone is just so jazzy and like so smooth. It's just really cool to like lock into that, and it's simple too. It's like like it's just 5, 3, 2, and then going back to 5 and 3, and so you're just like sitting there on the 3, but like it's satisfying to play, and it's the same thing as if you listen to like a Green Day song and nail like playing, I don't know, Longview, like the tom, the doom doom the doom, like when you nail that, it's so like you're in that groove, and it's the same thing with a simple pop song. So you're just listening to different shit. It is super cool.
I just want to throw this in here real quick. First drummer like I really like tried to learn the songs from was Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains.
Hell yeah, man.
First
Dude,
song-
I love Alice in Chains.
First song I ever learned was Man in the Box.
Yeah, dude, we that's probably our most, well, maybe not our most covered song, but so Dust by Monday has very interesting. Once the pandemic was over, we started like learning a lot of just different songs from different genres. So we played over on the west side, what's that place called? The Naughty Pine, and it opened up for like the Naked Karate Girls, and we had to play like an hour of just like random songs. So we learned like we learned Smashing Pumpkins, Alice in Chains, Michael Jackson, Maroon 5, just Taylor Swift, just learning all this
Hey,
crazy,
Tay.
just learning all this crazy stuff. But then we put out a pop punk album. You know what I mean? So it's we were doing all this crazy shit, and then now, fast forward 2 or 3 years, and Dust by Monday is we do original music, and we've learned covers and have done all that kind of stuff. But now we actually have a tribute band called Letter Bomb that is a Green Day tribute band. So we obviously only play Green Day stuff, and we play around a lot doing that. And it's interesting to kind of compare those two. Yes, we're influenced by Green Day, but now we're really taking it to the next level where we're actually doing the tribute band and then also doing Dust by Monday, doing originals and stuff. So
Hell yeah.
kind of cool.
Hell yeah. I mean, so I can say on the, just the doing a lot of different stuff and things like that. I've always, and I'm curious with you, because I've worked with a lot of different vocalists, and a lot of producers also do vocals and things like that. And there tends to be two styles of vocalists, and one are they base their sound on their cadence, and that's where a lot of it comes from. And other ones are practiced true vocalists, note hitters. And then obviously the more you can do both, the better. But most people naturally come from one of those two spots in my experience. And so for me, I was not naturally a note hitter because I didn't understand music theory and stuff like that. But my policy has always been, if I like it, I'm going to at least try to learn it. I may never use it, but being able to do multiple things that I hear. So it could be stuff from Fireflies or Infant Annihilator,
Yep.
Infant Annihilator or Pofu or Molly or Lil Wayne, doesn't matter.
Yep.
If I find something I like, I'm going to at least try to learn how to do it. And if I never use it, then I never use it. But that has, and then now I'm trying to get better at hitting notes and being more of a proficient technical singer.
Sure.
I was curious, for you, did it start that way, or was it the opposite, or just a totally different thing?
For me, I would say it was more along the lines of what you described as being more within just hitting a cadence and sort of going from there. I was originally, when I first started the band, I was pretty new to it. I was actually a drummer in high school and played drums in a band in high school and stuff. And when I first was getting started on the project, I was planning to be the drummer, but I was also, a guitar player. And so I had started writing some songs and I wanted to sing them too. So I was writing lyrics and trying to sing them, and I was really just sort of hunting around for melodies and, experimenting with harmonies and things just in my DAW and Logic and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, it was never really about can I emulate this style or can I emulate that style? I think that sort of...
It was more just tinkering.
It was tinkering, and I think, similar again to what you said, I think the technical proficiency stuff sort of comes later. I won't say it falls into place because you do have to work at it, and my workshop for vocals is my car. I listen to most of my music, honestly, when I'm driving around, driving to work, driving back, and listening to a genre that I'm interested in, like you said, and seeing can I do that? So just for the record, I cannot sing like Corey Taylor, but
Right.
I've tried. And so, that's the thing.
Just gotta try it. And so I remember, this was probably, so we've been doing the band, we've had the band formed for about a year now. And there was a point for me, it was almost directly halfway through, 6 months in. Because again, I've also done rock stuff. I had a solo, essentially a solo project. I did a lot of collaboration with the producer that I was working with. It was called Mask.
Okay.
And so I did that, but again, that was 100% studio stuff. There were no live shows from that.
Yeah.
And then before that was the rap stuff. And so this was my first consistent, every week, real vocals, full voice, screams,
Yep.
all of that stuff. And about 6 months in, I like I sounded like this all the time, like I couldn't talk, and I was starting to worry, like, holy shit, like, am I going to actually be able to do this?
Yeah.
And now it's like I don't even notice. Like I think we could practice 3 times a week and I would be fine. And normally at a practice we do how many total tracks? Like 24, like 24 total tracks played. Like 24, 25 tracks played, and I'll come home and be like, man, I wish we could have gone a little longer. Like, and I bet it's like that for every vocalist. Like once you get used to working the pipes and stuff like that, it becomes a little less like, holy crap. You know what I mean?
No, you're definitely right. I mean, that was my experience as well, and I don't do any, rough vocals or anything. It's all clean in our band, with extremely rare exceptions that Nick usually takes care of. But, like, because I hadn't, like I said, I really got into singing at the very start because I wanted to sing the songs that I was writing. And so when we first started doing shows, like, I had to do like an hour's worth of warming up just so that I could be stage ready, which I no longer need to do, thankfully. And then after a 20, 30 minute set on stage, like, I would be feeling it because you also go naturally a little bit harder when you hit the stage.
A little bit extra juice for the show, yeah.
Exactly. And now, after doing it for nearly 10 years, I don't require nearly as much warm-up time. And then, like Matt said, we're doing our Green Day tribute shows, and we're doing a 2-hour set sometimes with that. And I do most of the leads on that project, and I'm still feeling okay after that amount of time. And so it's really a muscle that you have to work out, no matter like what style you're singing in.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just like it's a familiarity with the like spaces that you're going to be living in, like in your singing kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do have a question for you guys, and the reason I ask is because, and I'm not speaking for anybody else in our band. I'm just for me. So it seems like you have 2 running projects that are both doing pretty well. One is the original content, the other is a tribute band. So creatively, I don't think I could do both at the same time. I feel like I would have to do one or the other. Like we only do originals with Pale Twin right now, and that's probably how it's going to stay. And it would be really hard for me to be like, let's like break off from this, like on one, even one song. Like let's just do a cover one. It would throw me off so much just because like it's such a different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like the muscles you're using in your brain when you're creating a song are completely different than covering a song. Like one is improvement and one is like actual like formation of a track.
Dude, you're hitting the nail on the head, especially for myself personally. Like I'm playing drums, right? So for original stuff, it's a lot better. I find it more rewarding to, create things and listen, try to come up with drum tracks and stuff. And there are some days where like we're doing Just My Money stuff. I'm like, oh, hey, this is awesome. We're doing this. And then, we'll have a practice where we flip over we have a show coming up for Letterbombs. So we're like, all right, well, we got to run through the Letterbomb set. And in the beginning, it was a lot of front end work. Like we had to learn. So at the first show we played this year at the Woodward Theater, we played the American Idiot album front to back, along with all the other hits from Dookie and Insomnia and all those things. So, we played 2 hours. So, and I didn't want to hear another fucking Green Day song for like the next 8 years, dude. I was so tired of listening to that shit. And I like Green Day. Don't get me wrong. Like I really enjoy American Idiot and like some of the older stuff. I will say I haven't really ever listened to some of the newer albums or tracks, but yes, dude. To your point, me personally, like I do struggle sometimes with like feeling like, oh man, like. I cannot listen to another Green Day song. I cannot learn another song. But then, it's like we take a break and focus on our original stuff and really get those creative things flowing. And it's like a reset button. All of a sudden I'm like, all right, dude, I'm gonna go learn these 4 new Green Day songs that I have never really heard. But that is not that hard once you've been able to scratch that creative itch. But that's for me personally. I think the rest of and obviously Alex here will share his thoughts too on this. But like, for me, I love kind of learning drums and playing drums, you have to emulate the style of the person that like you like look up to. So like for me, when I was 10 years old, I could not stop listening to Blink-182. Like I was obsessed with Travis Barker. He was my Facebook profile page when I first got a Facebook. Like him with his huge mohawk playing these acrylic like hyper Orange County drums. I could not get enough. I was in my room smashing drums for like 5 hours a day until like my mom was like, I know you're 11, but you have to move out. Like you got to dip. You know what I mean? Like I was
actually
no. She's like, here's $20. Have fun. No.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, man, like
No. But you know, it's that mindset of like you kind of gotta wrap yourself in whatever style you want to play and find a drummer, find a bassist, find a guitarist, find a vocalist that you really like, and really try to learn their stuff, because then you can kind of take it from there and go into your original projects, and you know the creativity comes alive.
100%. I mean, that's the same principle that I was talking about with like, so the way you were with was Travis?
Travis Barker. He's the drummer of Blink-182. Yeah.
That's how I was with Lil Wayne.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
I was obsessed.
Yeah,
with
my little
I'd
brother
be in
was
my
obsessed with
room
Lil Wayne.
Writing bars, freestyling.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, he made it sound so easy. Like just that laid back Louisiana drawl, doing that
he
stuff.
Got to the point, and it was almost like this is where he started to fade off. But he got to a point too where it was still good, but he like clearly like he was Lil Wayne at that point. He didn't give a fuck. He was gonna say
some of his
anything.
features. Yeah.
Like lasagna. Like
yeah.
He was talking about like lasagna. And like,
dude, you know, Lil Wayne, I think was at his peak with like, you know, when he was still doing his stuff with like Birdman. And what was his first group?
Well, Young Money was the big one that he formed.
Right. But there's he was in when he was really young. He was in
when he did like Go DJ and stuff.
Yeah, what was that?
Fuck, you're right.
Like I want to say it's like, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, that shit's cool. God damn, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, like that, him coming up and then like obviously making the Carter and all those things was really awesome. But you're right, when he got to like past like 2012,
I would say like past the Carter 4.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, you can kind of tell he's like, it just doesn't have that like bite to it, that creative bite that he normally would have had.
My favorite piece of work that he did was actually not an album, it was a mixtape. It was the Dedication 5. So there's 5 of them, right? Like, and it's the Dedication 5, and it was like right in the 2012, 2013, like when he was like in his like prime. If you haven't heard that, you should check it out. It's a good one. But my whole point with that was like so you like I know vocally from like listening to him, and there's like I get hyper fixated on different people like for periods of time, and then I'll move on to another one, and like that's just it's the same thing as the covering mindset. Like you're just taking it in, but then it's like you said, you can take that and turn it around. Be like, how can I make this a unique thing?
Absolutely.
Like by blending these concepts.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that's what we were doing in Dust by Monday. A lot of the covers, we were kind of not really in an identity crisis, but we did have a few conversations of like, what do we want this to be? Like, do we want to continue doing original music? Do we want to be like a working band? We play at the bars and grow a following and do top 40 hits, like all this stuff. And that's about the time, as Matt said, we started learning, everything. So, we were learning old school pop music. So, doing pop punk versions of Taylor Swift songs and like, keeping the Green Day and the Blink-182, stuff. But we were also learning the Cars and Led Zeppelin songs and stuff like that. The Killers, that was our first tribute experience. It's when we did a Killers tribute set. But I think, that also helped to enhance our creativity in certain ways, because as a guitar player, and I'm sure as a drummer or whatever, and to an extent vocally as well, you start to learn, you get into the heads of these other musicians a little bit that you're covering, He's like, oh, that's cool. How do they do that? And you learn that. And then it's like, well, I could apply this here on this song in Dust by Monday. And so, we were actually talking about this before the podcast, but the song On and On used to have a very straightforward, like, poppy, punky kind of solo thing, which was 3 notes basically. And then, it was basically when I was recording one of the final guitar tracks for the lead guitar, and I was just like, I'm going to do something different. And I kind of just whipped out this 80s kind of solo kind of thing, and just put like this really big reverb and echo on it. And it kind of changes the character of the song and blends, it kind of blends the genres up a little bit to the point where it gives it more of a unique kind of thing. So I think learning all these covers and different styles of guitar playing or styles of drumming can really help the creative process. And, even if you're in a tribute band, we tend to scratch the creative itch as well by, how can we change up the set list? Can we like do a medley of these songs? Or since he's been learning bass, on Brain Stew, when we go out to play that, I go behind the drum kit, he plays bass, and then I hand my guitar to our bassist and he sings the leads. And it keeps it fresh for us and for the audience. And so there's little ways that we can be creative while also still recognizing it's going to be a little bit of work to just plod through these songs and then just go through it. So, yeah.
All right. Kind of want to pivot towards kind of wrapping up here.
Sure.
So just got a couple things I want to go over. You guys said you're working on some new material.
Yes. We were going to do an EP, and then we had enough songs still stored up. We're like, why don't we just do an album? So we're going to be doing another album. The release is TBD. A lot of stuff going on, of course. So we're just trying to put together, the best 8 to 15 songs that we can.
He's being modest. He's getting married in like 2 weeks. So that's the big thing. That's kind of like holding, like, we're kind of like waiting to get through those things. And then, yeah. So, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt, but.
You guys got some big things coming in, like, your personal lives.
Yeah.
Yes. And, Matt's being modest as well. He's going to be a father here soon in about a couple months. So, there's lots of big things going on in our personal lives. Plus, we have Letterbomb going on, and we got our own careers and stuff. But we're really, committed to bringing it together. And, we're just trying to make another album of songs where, we can further explore creatively certain things. We're going to try to take it in maybe not a minor key direction, but maybe a little bit in a darker tone for a lot of the songs, and a little bit more emo, a little bit more hard rock in certain spots too, and a lot of 90s influence I think is going to show.
You answered my next question, so I was going to ask if you guys were doing anything different on this one, and
yes,
and that was it. I guess for me, the last thing I just wanted to, I saw you guys have a New Year's show. That's this next New Year's, right? 2026. Am I?
I don't think so.
That might have been a leftover from we were gonna play a New Year's show this past New Year's.
Oh.
Yeah. If you saw something like that.
I did see that, but
yeah.
I was like, because
yeah.
I don't know, I was confused. Okay.
No, you're good, dude. Our website is funny because we like linked it with our Letterbomb website, so like you can go to dustbymondaymusic.com or just dustbymonday.com. dustbymonday.com, and when you go there, like there's a button that you can hit that takes you to like, do you know about our Green Day tribute band? But all our dates are like on that page, and then if you go to the Letterbomb, all our dates are there. But yeah, we had something lined up, and then it unfortunately fell through. But our next show is in May. It's on May 9th at this venue down near the Museum Center called Moto Federation. It's a motorcycle, it's this enormous warehouse with all these like hundreds of motorcycles inside of it. And they're like kind of sort of trying to turn it into a venue, so it has like a big stage in there, and so we're playing there May 9th, and to be honest with you, and then we have another Dust by Monday. We're playing charity benefit in July at Southgate House, and then we're playing at Southgate House again, like 4 days after that, with, man, I forget the bands coming through. It's some touring bands coming through. So, yeah, Rookie of the Year, yeah, which will be sweet. They're really good. So, so Dust by Monday, we do have some shows coming up again, since we are having some major life events happening, and then also we're trying to record an album. We're kind of spacing out our shows for this upcoming year. However, towards the end of the year, when the album's going to potentially come out, we're definitely going to be playing around and promoting it, and we'll have an album release party and stuff. So, which you guys are more than welcome to attend when it gets booked. So,
Hey, if you send us a DM, I'll be there, man.
hell yeah, man, that'd be sweet.
Oh, well.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and then Letterbomb too. We're playing Southgate House and playing up in Columbus in July, and then probably in Indianapolis in the fall, and then hopefully back here, maybe at Southgate House again, or at the Woodward Theater in the wintertime.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys are staying busy.
Yeah, man,
Like-
I always tell people, like, when they ask us, like, because people used to get confused, especially last year. They're like, so is it Dust by Monday or is it Letterbomb, or like, what the hell is that? And I was like, dude, we're just dumb as hell when we started two bands. Like, it's two separate things. They're like, oh, really? Like, it's not one? I'm like, yeah, like, we did play Green Day stuff as Dust by Monday, but we decided to separate it and make it its own band. So now we're in two bands, which is dumb as shit because it keeps us crazy busy and trying to do promotion for both bands. And like, we're not signed. We everything you see on our socials, when you come to our shows, like, dude, it's all DIY. Like, everything that we do is our own blood, sweat, and tears, our own money, our own shit. Like, we play, like, that part of the reason we started doing the cover shows and stuff and playing out at bars and stuff was to make money to support making our music and doing shit like that. So
yeah. So where's the best place for our listeners? And we'll put a link in the description
Sure.
of this video. But where's the best place to find you guys for our listeners who want to look you up tonight?
Oh, if you want to look us up tonight, I would suggest Instagram. That's pretty much where we're most active. So our Instagram handle is at Dust by Monday Music. Also, our website has a lot more, more industry kind of information as well. That's just dustbymonday.com. But I would suggest the Instagram. That's where, we have a lot of our reels and things and promotional materials and information on upcoming shows. And we also have a YouTube. I don't think we have a specific URL for that, but if you type in Dust by Monday on YouTube and you scroll past the Scott Pilgrim clips, you should be able to find us. We have music videos for a couple of our songs from our album A Reason to Stay, which came out in 2024. So,
Oh yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you guys on. Definitely would like to have you on again sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
Whenever you're free,
we
catch
really
up
appreciate
a little
it.
bit with how some of the new stuff is going.
Yeah.
Do you guys, anybody else got anything left you guys got anything left you want to plug or anything like that? Anything left you want to say?
No, I don't think so.
No, we really appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's been awesome.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks again for listening to Twin Tuitions. Peace out.
Dying